Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's April 4th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And real quickly, I did have my doctor's appointment yesterday. Had my surgery. Had the cancer removed. Um, I had what you call Mohs surgery, and if you're not familiar with that, basically they just start taking tissue, and they're in the it's like an outpatient procedure. It was on my ear, and they start taking tissue and they test it on the spot, and they keep taking tissue until you get a piece that tests with no cancer cells. So took most of the day. They said usually it only takes one or two tries. Well, it took three before they got all of mine, and so I did lose a chunk of my ear. Nothing that can't be fixed. If you're a member of our website, you can I posted a picture in the forum if you want to go there and look at it. I will warn you, don't look at it if you're queasy or something like that easily bothers you because it's kind of it was just freshly after they cut it, so it looks it doesn't look the best, and so I'm a little vain about my looks of my ear right now, but they assured me that they can fix it and make it look almost normal again. So I'm not going to worry about it. It is what it is. I'm cancer free and I'm still here and I'm healthy. So that's the best outcome somebody with cancer could ask for. So I feel good about that. And it was not a real aggressive cancer, but I had let it go long enough that it had gotten it was just I thought they were only going to take a small sliver off the top of my ear, but unfortunately they had to cut in. They didn't have to take any of the cartilage, but they did take a good bit of the tissue surrounding. Well, if you saw the picture, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, I probably lost a quarter of my ear tissue, something like that. So it's not the prettiest thing in the world, and I probably need all the help I can get anyway. So um, if I need it, I'll probably get it fixed. But my next step is I got to wait a couple of weeks and see how it heals and how the tissue looks. And if it starts to, they said some of it can grow back. And we'll see if enough of it grows back, then they might not need to do, I may not have to have a plastic surgeon. I might be able to go back and my regular doctor just remove a little piece of tissue behind my ear and add it to it. But if not, there's a procedure where they cut a flap on behind your ear and they tuck your ear into there and they sew it up and then it grows to your ear and then they cut the flap off and that tissue goes with the ear and then the other tissue behind it regenerates or something. I'd rather have a scar behind my ear than a quarter of my ear missing. So if worst comes to worst, I'll do that procedure. But anyway, I didn't mean to drag this out, but a lot of you have asked, so I thought I would fill you in. Um, when your significant other or a mother or a friend or whoever tells you to be sure you cover up and put sunscreen on, don't just laugh it off, especially young people. I mean, I used my mother, if I had a nickel for every time my mother told me to put sunscreen on or to put my shirt on because I'm getting blistered, I'd probably be wealthy now if I had a nickel for every time she told me that. And when you're young, you think you're invincible and you think it'll never happen to you. But as you age, if you don't take care of your skin when you're in the sun and you get burned over and over and get too much sun, that's the things that happen to you. So I'm paying the price now for being hard-headed when I was younger. So don't be like me. Be smart. Be aware that you may not be getting anything but a sunburn now, but down the road, it will, even if you don't get cancer, it will age you terribly. That's how this started. I had a few spots removed from my top of my ears and forehead already, and that's how we found this. So luckily, I was vain enough to go in to have those brown spots removed off my forehead, and that's how they found it on my ear. And I actually had the piece on my chest that was really prompted it, but while I was there, I had them look at the brown spots and they removed those for me. And that's just from not taking care of my skin and being out in the sun and not putting on sunscreen and getting burned over the years. So I will tell you, be smarter than I was. Listen to your mother, your wife, or your husband, or your father, or whoever is telling you to get out of the sun and don't get burned. Listen to them. It'll pay off for you down the road. So, enough about that. I'm fine. I'm cancer free, and I'm a little less of an ear, but other than that, I'm healthy and I'm good, and I'm blessed for that reason. So, uh, let's get on to the chart lesson. You can see today a big outside kind of a bullish reversal day that ended up again like always. They come in late and buy the thing up, so maybe we're still going to go higher. We're well into overbought territory now. You can see we got way up into that, and so no surprise that we had a little correction today. Will we get follow through buying now? I don't know. We may have to test these other highs before we really sell off. We'll just have to see. So once again, we we're we've rallied back up again, and we're really still working in this sideways stuff, and you can see it there. It's real clear that we're just up and down, up and down. So we'll see what happens here. The news still comes out with the economic news still comes out. None of it's ever really good, in my opinion. Some of it's a question mark, but none of it's ever really good. And we sell off, and we always tend to recover it. So it's interesting. But anyway, you see it there. We'll flip over to 2,000 tick chart. You can see that we started off in a range, sold off, moved to measured move, maybe a little bit more than a measured move with the original range, and then we rallied into the close. It doesn't seem to matter what we do, we rally into the close lately. So anyway, let's flip over there and take a look. And here's a look at our 2,000 tick chart. You can see we were in this range early on, and then when we sold off, we actually moved about a measured move. We actually went further than that, but closed back inside that measured move distance. And you can see how the news came out around 9 o'clock, and it was taken negatively. And then we just we had this channel we had a little spike in channel down, really is what we had. And you got a break here at a new low, and then we rallied and just kind of chopped sideways. But you can see that late afternoon rally there closed off its low, so it kept it from being too bearish, but still relatively bearish day today overall, bearish to sideways. So there's a few buy opportunities down here late. It looked like we were going to reverse out of here, and then we sold off again, only to go sideways and then rally. We had that failed breakout here that rallied into the close. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, if we get any follow through selling, or if it's like it has been, we'll probably see them take it up during the overnight, and then maybe it goes sideways or sells off some during the day. That's kind of been the MO lately, is that we sell off. They run it up during the overnight, then we sell off some during the day, only to rally into the close again. We did have a couple of days, if you go back and look at that daily chart there, where we've really rallied here lately. So you can see where we were having those crazy days, but then in the last 3 or 4 days, we've rallied strongly. And that could be some short covering again, and into this overbought territory. So we'll see if we get any follow through selling, or if we just kind of chop sideways before something changes. But let's go back and go through the trades and wrap this day. All right, here we are, 7 o'clock. Let's zoom in here, go through these trades. You had to be real patient today. There just wasn't much happening early on. 7 o'clock came. Right in here as we're just kind of chopping around here. You had a trend up. I didn't draw that one, but it was looking like a range here. But 7 o'clock came, and we just continued on, and we confirmed this channel down here. And you just don't really get a chance to enter it. Honestly, the way I would describe this is you get a leg down, a two-legged correction, and another leg down. So if you really if you're a really, really skilled chart reader, that's a great failed second entry long in the bigger picture there, based on what I just described. And if you can see that, maybe you take that as a failure. Otherwise, but most of you are not going to be that far along. But clearly, there's a leg down, two legs up, and another leg down for a clear two, and they look like two measured legs. Let's just see how close they are to being measured legs. You can see they're not quite perfect measured, but they're still clearly two legs down with that two-legged correction in the middle, and so that's probably going to be a failure there. But you need to be, like I said, you need to be skilled, so I'm not even going to mark that, but I wanted to point it out for those of you that are good enough to see something like that. We do have some traders that are good enough, not many, but we do. We get our first break of this channel here, and just a first entry short. It's a big bearish bar, but I don't think I'm going to take that. You get a second leg down here, but again, nothing that's worth trading. And there's a clear bounce down here where we've bounced multiple times. I marked this one green. It's way away from the EMA. This one you could almost argue to be blue because you get your break, two legs down, and it bounces. That's proven support right there. Big bullish reversal type bar, way away from the EMA. The odds are we're going back to the EMA at a minimum. I like that trade. You're generally better to wait on the lower high, though, to make sure you get more evidence that we're going higher, especially for newer traders. And again, if you're a super skilled trader, maybe you take that trade. Most of you, that's probably too aggressive. So, and then by the time you get the higher low, it's two sideways right into the EMA. And so, again, you just don't really get a chance to enter this. I think you have to wait. And here, I believe you get an overshoot. And so we didn't go on to try to make a new high. We just kind of chopped sideways. Once again, there's a chance you could still try to make a new high here. And so notice the new swing low there, and then you get a first entry, second entry. So if it breaks above here, it's going to fail. So maybe you take that one. Just see if you hope you should get a scalp out of that if you got room to get out here. That's going to be your first concern. And it may go on to make a new high. We may go back to the upper side of the range. That's the other problem here, is that there's a good chance we're going back to the other side of what looks like a range. And there's plenty of room back to that midline and these highs. So, and if it goes on through, maybe you ride it on up. So maybe you take that trade. Past that, we're just chopping around. It's right into the midline. There's nothing happening here. And this one is tempting, but you can't go short right into that support. Just skip that. This actually should be just a tad lower here like that. Turns out to be a great move, but you don't know that in advance. Then we get to move up, close outside. We actually get a couple of legs up to a new high. This is just too congested to go short or long in here. And I'd want a lower high here before I even thought about going short. So really you're thinking long here and you don't get any long. Drops on down, and once again, I just drew a resistance across here, but technically this is a range. However you want to do it, as long as you play it as a range. It should be up here. So you get a triple test right there with a bearish bar, plenty of room back to the other side of the range. You can clearly see. And it's a possibility there's a trend line here. That would have just set it. So most of you're really just playing the range here. Nice short. There's another failure here, but that looks a little congested. I think you're better off to wait. And of course we move to the other side, what appears to be the other side anyway. Then we bounce, and this is actually a third entry short, but you get your first break and move to a new high, and it confirms that trend line, and I like that one for that reason. It's only good for a scalp, unfortunately. And then we're chopping along in another range, and here you get a triple test with a nice signal bar. I like going short there. I don't see any longs down here worth taking. This one's tempting, but again, you got congested. It looks congested. You got three or more bars, and one of them has no body or a very tiny body. This is just kind of like congestion right in the middle. Skip that. You could argue a failure there, but because it's in this range, you really can't look at failures. You just have to play that as a range, and you can't play that. Turns out to make a pretty good move down, but again, just nothing you can do about that. And you don't want to be trying to pick a bottom down here. You would have had a triple test here, which would have been nice if it would have broke higher, but it doesn't. It does break higher here, and you just don't get a chance to enter it. Get a close outside, new high, all in one move. There's a second entry there, but that signal bar is a little iffy. And it runs up, and you get a first entry, second entry. So I like that one on a second entry. It's a little iffy because it still looks like a leg back, two legs back there, but that's a little congested. So maybe there's only one leg there to wait and see what happens. So you could call this a double top, and this is the second entry. But even if you looked at this like two legs back with a high or low, if it breaks above that, it's probably going to go higher, which it does. So I like that entry either way, however you look at it. But to me, it looks like this is a double top, and this is first entry, second entry. So one leg, second leg. That's how I would play that. And then, of course, you get your close outside, move to a new high, and you get a lower high right here. That one, and plus you could argue you tried to go higher two times, so a failure. But there's not much room back to the EMA there, although you expect this may have played out, and we're probably at least coming back to the trend line. So if there's room there, maybe you take that. I think you're better off to wait. I like this as your lower high. It's moved a little bit far to call that a lower high. However, I just like that as a breakout pullback, coming back to test that. If it breaks lower right there, we're probably going to try to make another leg down. And so that's the reason I like that one. There's a second entry here, but that's too congested in my opinion. Triple test here, but not a good enough signal bar. And then you get another little breakout pullback short right there. It looks like a repeat from here. And so if you remembered that and saw that, maybe you'd take that trade. But that would be the only way I would recommend that one. And it plays out pretty much like the other one did. You run on down, then it pulls back and you get a second entry short right here. That's your first break of that trend channel. Second entry short. I like that one. It's good for a scalp. You don't get much more, and you just kind of work sideways, and it drops on down. And now you've got your break of this, a move to a new low, and you've also got a triple test way away from the EMA. So prices are probably at least headed back to the EMA. You may not could have got in this one because it closes on its high, then opens. This is one you might have to drop a limit order. Maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't. I don't think you would have got filled on that, but if you could, take that trade. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. You wouldn't have entered there. You entered here, so you would have got in that trade. So just forget that right there. That does gap over. That's because it took off and it was running the stop. So, but your entry was here. So, yeah, you would have got in that trade. And notice there's two legs up and then there's two legs in this leg. So technically that's a second entry short up here right at the high. This looks like a range. So I like that short. Plenty of room back to the EMA and the midline. And this thing just runs straight on down. And again, when you know you're in a known range, you don't worry about the EMA so much. You're more worried about the midline than the EMA. But that takes us into closing, and there's just not anything else going on there. So not a lot of trades today. There really weren't, especially early on. Usually the mornings are your best trading, and you had to kind of be a little patient. I mean, there's still plenty of trades here to find you 2 or 3 trades, but it's not a super uh, great trading day, especially considering we trended down most of the day. So, and of course, we spent really from 11 o'clock to close just working sideways here again. You really have another range here. And that's how I would have looked at it. Just go ahead and draw it on there. And you just get some trends working back and forth within that. And that's probably why we closed higher here. They're trending it back up towards the top of this range across here. So anyway, that's how I saw it. Not much else we can say about today. I didn't trade today. My ears throbbing a little bit, so I've been taking some pain medicine, and it just kind of makes me feel weird. And so I don't like, if you've listened to me talk before, I've told you when you're having issues or medical issues like I'm having, I don't trade on days like this because it's too easy to make mistakes, to get, when you're not feeling 100%, don't trade, whether that be physically, emotionally, whatever. And some people feel like they have to trade and they force it, and the next thing you know, they're having a bad day. Well, I just don't trade on days like that. So maybe I'll trade tomorrow. Maybe it'll be Thursday before I'll trade again. And I may take the whole week off. Who knows? Since I'm going to be taking off the following week, I believe it's the following week. I probably will trade Thursday or Friday at least. So we'll see. It just depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm not feeling good, I won't trade. If I'm feeling better and I don't need the pain pills tomorrow, which I haven't had one since this morning, and I'm not feeling a lot of pain now, so I may be past the worst. I don't like taking pain pills. They make me feel loopy and weird, and I just can't really function well on them. So unless I have to have them, unless I'm really hurting, which I was last night and this morning, unless I'm really hurting, I won't take them. And if I'm not taking them, I'll probably be ready to trade again. So anyway, we'll see what the rest of the week brings. But I hope you had a good trading day. Again, not the best trading day. Looking at it after the fact here, just wasn't a great day. It doesn't look like. So a lot of times I have a little different view of it if I just look at it after the fact and didn't watch it during the trading day. Most days I'm sitting here watching it as it's forming, so I kind of remember how I was thinking and what I was feeling during the trading day. And unfortunately, on days that I do a chart lesson that I didn't trade, I did watch the chart off and on today, not like I usually would when I'm trading, but I did watch it off and on. So I did watch it, but it's just not the same. I'm looking at this pretty much totally after the fact without being in trading mode. So you might look at it slightly different, but it's still the same trade, still works out the same in most cases. So, but I like to make you aware of that fact just so you know that, hey, I didn't trade today. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.